as well
Okay.
too on Facebook. So they won't be able to see you, but they will be able to see me. But what's going on? Nice to finally speak with you and have this conversation.
Absolutely,
This
yes.
discussion.
It's so great, and thank you so much for responding. Like, I didn't even think that you were going to respond. Honestly, when you responded, I got scared.
Nah, come on, stop that.
But
Stop
you
that.
know, I was like, oh my God, this brother, we gotta talk to this brother. I have to, and I have to introduce him to the community.
Yeah, it's my honor. It's my honor. I'm so glad that you invited me. I see that you're doing a lot of work. I respect that and I appreciate that. Keep it up. You know, and hopefully this won't be the last interview with us in
Yes,
the future.
sir. I hope not. Like this conversation is supposed to be centered on high blood pressure, but I know there's so many aspects of this conversation that it's going to be hard for me to stay on track. But we're gonna try. We're gonna try.
We're gonna try.
So, all right, yes, brothers and sisters who are listening and who are on, thank you so much for joining us. We are going to be talking about health in the Black community and in high blood pressure specifically, and it really is a crisis. It really is a crisis in our community. We're very sick. We're very sick, and it's only because we don't know. You know, it's only because we don't know or we're not being taught properly how to be healthy. And so I definitely wanted someone who is in the medical field, who does have years of experience. Brother Edward, can you introduce yourself? I know you have so many things under your belt that you can teach us and help us with and give us some guidance and direction. I'm going to let you have the floor, introduce yourself, because there's a lot that I could say right now, but I want you to introduce yourself.
No doubt. Well, first of all, like I said, thank you for having me on. For those who don't know, my name is Edward Williams. I'm the founder and creator of Health by Any Means Necessary. In addition to that, yes, I'm a physician assistant. I'm a personal trainer. I'm a nutritionist, fasting and blood pressure expert, all those things like that. But like I said, like I always say, what matters the most is that I'm your brother. I'm someone who has a large investment in our community. I have every intentions on making sure that we correct this shift right now. Right now, the trajectory of our community is going in a very negative direction. And so it is up to this generation right here to make sure that we do what we can to actually improve our health conditions as a whole. So that's who I am. That's what I do. I practice, over here in Florida, seeing patients on a daily basis. But, as far as health finding necessary, our mission is to radically improve our overall health conditions.
Yes, sir. Definitely. Definitely. And I feel like to start off this conversation, I really like when I think about the Black community and our health, I like to just to create a base, a foundation that we're gonna speak off of. And I really briefly want to touch on the beginning of why we're so sick, of why we're going through all these issues. And when I think about the beginning, I think about when we were brought over here. So when we were brought over here, from the beginning, we were never taught properly. We weren't taught anything properly. We weren't taught who we were. We weren't taught anything about ourselves, our God, our language, what we used to, like nothing. We were just kind of just left to fend for ourselves. And so now in 2019 and all these years, ever since they so-called freed us, we've just been kind of living on default, not really knowing.
Right.
And so what do you think about that? Because that's where it begins. Like we never were taught properly. We never were.
Yeah, and so that is a layer of security that is provided by those who forced and kidnapped us over here. It's important to make sure you strip a people of their history, of their knowledge. It's important. You can't let them know who they truly are. You need to make sure. That's what colonization is about. Colonization is about, actually taking over a territory. But that territory doesn't have to be something that is always dealing with the terrain. You can colonize somebody's mind. And so the colonization is largely taking place within our actual psyche. You have to make sure that they don't have knowledge of self. You have to make sure that they have no connection with their ancestors. They have no connection with any of their traditional religions, any of their traditional languages, any culture whatsoever. All of it has to be eradicated. And what has to happen after that is something called the acculturation process. The acculturation process is where your primitive culture, quote unquote primitive culture, needs to be supplanted and thrown out and now replaced with our current culture. Whatever that culture is going to be, it's going to work for us. It may or may not work for you. I don't know. That's not my problem. But we know for sure it's going to work for us. And so now what happens is that you have the people who have traditionally oppressed, stolen, raped, lynched. You now have that being imposed as your culture. And you're now seeing life through the lens of someone who has imposed their way on you. So that's the acculturation process. That's what we're experiencing. So, of course, they will not teach you how to eat healthy, take care of yourself, any of those things, because that's too close to empowerment.
That's right.
You know, and so you can't empower. We can't. It's against their benefit to actually empower us with these things. Therefore, the reason why knowing our history is so important, because we're able to, like the bird, Sankofa, look back and grab what was left behind us. And so that's our saving grace, being able to reach back and grab what our ancestors left, because many of these things are still there. You know, and that's why I push fasting so much, because that's a principle that was always embedded in our actual
brother. Yes.
And so,
absolutely, absolutely. And if what makes us think, you know, our minister says, what makes us think that they're going to teach us right if they never treated us right? We've never been treated right, ever. In 2019, up to this day, up to this minute, we have not been treated right. So our minds have been completely taken over, as you said, to the point where we believe everything the doctors tell us, and we not only believe it, but we are very much, we don't want to think about another way. Like, it's hard for us to think about another way that we could get healthy, because the doctor said this. The doctor said I have to take this. The doctor said this. And so we literally, in our minds, block out another way, and then we submit to what they tell us. And then because we submit in our heads to what they tell us, well, you have diabetes, you know, this is going to happen, and you have high blood pressure. And because we submit, you know, our thoughts are very powerful. As soon as you decide to submit, everything else inside your body submits as well. So then you will start getting sick. Right. You will start feeling the pain and the symptoms. You will start taking all those drugs and getting refills. And so those symptoms create other things inside of the body, because there's a foreign substance in your body. And so there's like all these connections that we're not aware of that is killing us.
Yeah, absolutely. So I agree with everything you're saying. And one of the things that, you know, I recommend that everybody pick up, and I will make a disclaimer that, you know, this is not an easy read, but this book right here is called Medical Apartheid. So if you feel like with me, myself, or Sister Muhammad, Latasha Muhammad, is saying is a little too harsh, or maybe it's a little too radical, then you only say that because you have not read the actual data. You haven't actually seen the receipts. So this book is called Medical Apartheid. It's by a doctor, MD. Her name is Harriet Washington. And this sister went through and with great detail to actually explain many of the atrocities that our people have faced from the moment we were forced there up until today. You know, we think that this thing was like centuries ago. No, we're talking about like 90s. I mean, those doctors are just dying, or they're still living, you know. So it's easy to make sure that these things happen again in an updated fashion if we don't even know they happened in the first place. So we will be having conversations about this book this whole entire year, because I feel like it's so important for us to know. But also, you won't be so thrown back by what I'm saying or what you're saying, because some people may feel like it's a little too much. And that's because, like I said, they don't know the atrocities that our people have gone through and still going through. And also with that being said, you know, so we can sit here and talk about the things that have been done or are currently still being done. But what I would say is that we cannot expect or look for anybody outside of ourselves to do anything for our people, for our
Yes,
community.
sir.
It is all
Yes,
on us. It is
it
all
is.
on us. And I'm completely fine with that. I think you're okay
Yes.
with that. It's clear that the Nation of Islam is
Oh,
okay with that. And so, therefore, with that being
yes.
said, and therefore, with all that being said, we now put in the work. We now put in the work. We lose this fairy tale. We lose this myth that a system that was designed to see you fail will now help
That's
you
right.
heal. Like, throw
Right.
that away in the trash can. It's not
Yes.
going to happen. That's why I push self-care. I push of us being our own primary care providers, us having a basic understanding of anatomy and physiology,
Yes.
just the basics, not going deep, but just the
Yes.
basics. So, yeah, I'm completely with you on that.
Absolutely. And when you say, and that's another thing that I was thinking of too, is just a basic knowledge, just a basic knowledge of anatomy and physiology of our bodies. We have these systems that are all connected within ourselves. They're independent, yet they're interconnected. And they all work together. They all work together, just like the galaxy and the universe and the planets out there. It's all interconnected, yet separate. But if one thing goes wrong in the body, it's like a domino effect. Something else is gonna start failing. You know, and once we start thinking in this way, even just looking at pictures of our capillaries and our vessels and our arteries, even just having that picture in your mind, just that simple thing, you're going to start thinking like, well, if I'm eating all this fatty, greasy food, and then we got these tiny little vessels in our body, and I'm eating all this fat, I can understand how it could get clogged up, or it could, cause me to have a heart attack or a stroke with all this fat floating around in my blood. Even just basic knowledge will save us, I feel like. And when you say self-care, absolutely. And we're all we got? Absolutely, brother, because the hospitals, they really don't care. They really don't. I worked in the medical field for 4 years. I was an EMT on an ambulance, and so I took care of patients. I attended. I did all that, and I've seen firsthand the difference in treatment. I've seen it on the ambulance. I've seen it in the ERs. And so we really do have to lean on ourselves. And when you say self-care, it goes so deep. I believe that we need to get to the point where we can, if we do feel like something's going on, we will know what to do. So what do you mean when you say self-care? Can you go into a bit more of what you mean when you say self-care?
So self-care as in understanding that, like you said, when you have a problem in one aspect of your system, that's not an isolated event. That's going to throw off the whole entire body, the whole entire system. So like you said, yes, they're independent, but they're interconnected. So just because you have high blood pressure, if you think that your only goal is to actually decrease your blood pressure, then we need to now make sure we educate you on what blood pressure really means. Well, we need to actually make sure you understand that high blood pressure is denoting the fact that there are several other things possibly wrong. You just can't go and be laser focused on the blood pressure itself because the blood pressure is a sign. So self-care deals with getting to know yourself. Self-care deals with if you are diabetic and you have what they call high blood sugar. Self-care means that you now are tracking your sugars and you actually know what foods are making your blood sugar go sky high and which ones are actually keeping you balanced as far as blood sugar. And therefore, you now have to make the decision that, or if that one is going sky high, that food is bad for me, therefore I'm going to no longer eat that food. Self-care means that you understand that you have trillions of cells, 37 trillions of cells, and that you are actually the God of those 37 trillion cells. Therefore, everything you are actually taking in your body, you have cells that are being killed, destroyed, and created every single minute, every single day. But we need to understand that those cells are being created with the foods that we're taking on our body, with the drinks that we're taking in, with the things that we're smoking or XYZ. Self-care means that you're just paying way more attention to yourself. Self-care means that you're not just being passive in this medical system. You're not just going into the doctor's office and they're telling you X, Y, Z, take that, and you're just walking out without any kind of questions
Right.
answered. Self-care means that your body belongs to you. At the end of the day, no matter what a doctor tells you, no matter what whoever tells you about
That's
what, that's
right.
your body. That's your body. They don't have to live in it. If you pass on, if you become sick, that is your problem. That is in your family's problem. Therefore, who has the final say? Like, who should be in charge of this whole entire thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And where do we get that from? Because we do. And I'm a very straight, blunt, straightforward type of sister. I don't like to dance around stuff, We don't like to ask the doctors questions. We don't. We don't like to question them. We don't like to challenge them. And that's not with just doctors. That's with anyone who seems like they're in a more, I don't know. Yes. Yes. Yes, brother. That's the word I was looking for. And so that is hurting us. And I've even experienced it too. It's almost like, like we feel like we don't have the audacity to question them. Yes, you need to question them all up and down until you're satisfied, brothers and sisters who's listening. Don't be afraid to ask questions to these doctors. Ask questions about the medication. Heck, I would ask you, how do I get off? Ask them, how do you get off of the medication? How do I get off of this, doctor? Okay, I'll take it for 3 weeks or whatever. Tell me what I need to do to get off of this drug. That's the question. But we're afraid to. And so we walk around, like I said before, because we submit to what they tell us. We get these drugs. We don't question them. And then we're down on a downward slow spiral toward even worse health. And so we got to know that it's not a hopeless situation. Many of us feel like it's a hopeless situation. We're just sick because my granddaddy had it and my mama had it, and it's genetic. It's not genetic. It's not genetic, and it hits home for me because I saw my mom decline and my dad decline, but neither of them are here today, and my mom, her kidneys failed because she had high blood pressure. You know what I'm saying? So I seen the dialysis. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I seen her have seizures because of the toll all the medications and all the dialysis was taking on her. Like, it's just, we have to take control. We have to.
Definitely. And one thing that I always say is that the quality of your question determines the quality of your health. But in order for you to have quality questions, you have to have a decent understanding of your body. If you don't have a decent understanding of your body, I can tell you all type of things. I can tell you that it does run in your family. Since your mom had it, then you're going to have it. And you won't be able to refute that because you won't have a basic knowledge of your body. The other thing you spoke on was that, we're afraid to ask questions. So there's a book, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. There's a book called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome, written by Dr. Joyce Deguri. I always mess up her last name, but I think it's Dr. Joyce Deguri. And so in that book, it's a very fascinating book. She does a great job. I recommend everybody reads it. But, we're dealing with a psychosis, and we're coming out of that psychosis. But one of the fundamental principles of enslavement is that you have to strip them of confidence. Like, you can't have a confident slave. You can't have a confident slave. Nat Turner became confident and hell broke loose. So you can't have a confident slave. And so there's multiple things that go into play when we're talking about enslavement. The things that we focus on deals with the actual physical part. We think about slavery, we think about the bloodshed, we think about the lynchings, we think about the beatings, the castrations, the rapings. Those are the things we think about. But what we need to understand is that way more time went into the psychological aspect of what it takes to keep a good slave. Way more time went into that. But not only just that slave, but how can we put this on automation? How can we make sure that we are able to pass this on through generations after generations after generations? Now, and this is there are actually books on this that talk about that, but I would say make sure you start with Dr. Joyce Deguri. her book is called Post-Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And so to bring it all the way back full circle, when we talk about authority, a large aspect of us, when we're in that doctor's office, we still feel that intimidation. You know, in this book, Medical Apartheid, she talks about it's called black iatrotrophic, black iatrotrophy. I'm mispronouncing the name, but pretty much it's just the massive distrust of the medical institution. Nobody in this country has the distrust and insecurities as the African male and women, the descendants of the Indian slave brothers and sisters. No one in this country has the same amount of aversion to the healthcare system.
And with good reason, yes.
With good reason. And so, you know, it's hard to go into that medical office, especially if you know that everything about it is cold, the waiting room is cold. You see the commercials are coming on suggesting medication. Somebody's running in the bush with the flowers and, you know, XYZ. And then you have to go into the actual room and sit down on a loud table with all this paper on it. It's cold. You have to wait. And then you finally get the doctor to come in with his white coat and stethoscope. And you automatically feel, for some people, you automatically feel intimidated because they are now presenting themselves as the authority of your body. They're now presenting themselves as someone who knows more than you. And you become more vulnerable because you believe you have a situation that they know about and you don't know about. And so what I'm going to tell you and preach to everybody on here is that the information that's required to radically improve your information is at your fingertips. You know, understanding your body, understanding what blood pressure is, which is what we're going to talk about, understanding what all these other conditions are, is going to help you start to move in the right direction. But one of the major things that I need for us to kill, to get rid of tonight, is the fact that type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, heart disease, obesity, cholesterol, all of these lifestyle and preventable conditions, we need to throw away this idea that it just runs in our family. Throw it away in the trash can, because that is something that does not belong to you. Once again, I'm gonna keep flashing this book. All right?
I'm gonna get
it. Because, you know, many of the same tactics used back then or have just been updated and used now. You know, in order for the Tuskegee experiment to actually take place, they had to convince these group of people that they were innately defective. They had to convince them that they innately had a defect. And they called it bad blood. They called it bad blood. And so people easily believed that they had bad blood because their dad had bad blood or their mom had bad blood. Therefore, if somebody came to me and told me I got bad blood, it makes sense that I have bad blood. Therefore, if I have bad blood, I don't want to go out like Pops. So what you got to give me? So we need to understand that it's not the genetics that's causing diabetes and high blood pressure to be so rampant in our community. It's not the genetics. They're still talking about which gene and XYZ. Look, man, we figured out everything else. You still trying to tell me we still trying to figure out which gene.
Right.
And so it's not the genes. It's not that it's innately just running in your veins. It's the foods. It's the food. And so we just gotta call it like it is. It is the foods. It is impossible. It's almost impossible to acquire the status of type 2 diabetes without the use of processed foods. This means that you can go and sit in a sugarcane field and chew on sugar canes all day long. Before you become diabetic, your jaw will fall out because of all the fiber, because of all the nutrients. In other words, you won't become diabetic because nature has packed everything in a way where, yes, you're going to get the sugar, but you're also going to get the potassium. You're also going to get the sodium. You're also going to get the magnesium. You're also going to get all these other nutrients that are going to actually improve your health. But when we're talking about processed foods, it's the wild, wild west. Whatever we want, we can make sugar this high. We can make fat this high. We can make this that high. You can do whatever you want, and you take that in your body on a daily basis in a very uncut way. You're going to get sick. It's only a matter of time.
Absolutely. Our food is disgusting. It has completely become a science project. The food that we eat, the food that they sell in the stores. It's crazy. It's crazy. And that's another thing that I wasn't taught in my family. Health wasn't an important thing. It was just whatever was in the cabinet. You know, it was government cheese. It was powdered eggs. It was hamburger helper. It was pork chops. You know what I mean? So and that's why that's the reason why it runs in the family. That's the exact reason why something would run in the family, because those chains were never broken.
Right. Yeah, what runs in the family is the lifestyle habits. That's what runs in the families. The way we deal with stress, that's what runs in the family. So when they're talking about, you know, did your mom or dad have high blood pressure, and they're marking down yes or no, and they're asking questions about your family history, all this is doing is coming up with an equation. And they're saying that since your mother had high blood pressure and your father had high blood pressure, and your father smoked and your mother drank, and they taught you how to eat, you will most likely eat like them, and you will come out with the same conditions that they have. That's all it is. That's about environment. That's about environment. That's only about environment. That's only about actual surrounding. That's what that whole the family thing. That's the only place the actual family equation takes place, because I'm going to eat the way they taught me to eat until I realize that, all right, this is not the way to eat.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the only way that something is going to be carried into the next generation, is if we don't learn, if we don't educate ourselves. So, yes, sir. Go ahead. You were going to say something?
Oh, no, and I was just saying, that's what we're doing right now. We're educating and we're empowering.
Definitely. I know. And this is definitely encouraging me, because I'm always, especially, I got into health because of coming into the Nation of Islam. You know, my first introduction to health was, How to Eat to Live by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. This was my first introduction to health and why health is important and why pork is not good for you. And this was where I first learned to fast. Before that, I didn't hear nothing about that. And because I've been doing it for so many years, nobody can tell me anything. Nobody can tell me anything. And when I say that, it's because I've experimented on myself. I don't just read a book and say, oh, this is it. No, I need to know for myself. You know, that's how you truly learn, is you have to apply it. You have to apply it. And that's actually the next topic I wanted to get into. Fasting. Huge. I mean, so big. But high blood pressure / hypertension, cancer, diabetes, type 1 and 2, heart disease, obesity, strokes and heart attacks. It's all killing us, you know, in our community. And, you know, we won't be able to get to everything in this one conversation, but let's go ahead and jump right on into high blood pressure, because that's one of the huge ones that so many of us are walking around with right now, and we don't even know it. Same thing with diabetes, but we're not talking about diabetes today. But just real quick, I have 2 brothers at my job, and they're young brothers. They're young. They're active. They play sports. I'm talking young, like 27, 26, and they just got diagnosed with pre-diabetes, and they had no idea. So just because you think that you're fit and you're active, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're healthy. And I just wanted to say that too, just to drop some seeds. But let's get into high blood pressure, Brother Edward. High blood pressure, it's killing us. It's killing us.
Right. So my take on high blood pressure, I'm not sure if you or the audience have read my information or seen my video course or anything like that. But my take on it is on the radical side of being very different. So here's something that, you know, we're going to have to work through, but high blood pressure is not a disease. Now, hold on, let me explain. So what we need to understand is that And the way I break this down is I start out with the actual metaphor. So when you get in your car and you're driving around, your check engine light come on, what are you going to do? Are you going to A, cut the wires to the check engine light so that you no longer see it? Are you going to B, take a piece of duct tape and place it over the light so you no longer see it? Or are you going to C, take it to your mechanic so that they can actually figure out what's going on with the actual engine? Which are
Let's
you going
figure
to do?
out what's going on.
Right. So you're going to figure out what's going on because you understand that the check engine light is a sign that something in the engine is actually going on, right? You know that the check engine light itself is not the actual problem. When we look at high blood pressure, we need to understand that high blood pressure is not the actual problem. It is a sign that there is something off in the actual cardiovascular system. Therefore, we need to now figure out what is going on with the cardiovascular system, what's going on in the actual arteries. We have 37 trillion cells. We have 60,000 miles of blood vessels. Our blood vessels can wrap around planet Earth 2.5 times around. If something was to go wrong in that actual 60,000 miles, our bodies need to have the ability to actually adapt and overcome. Therefore, if there is a blockage, if there is stiffening of the arteries, if there is a restriction, constriction, our bodies needs to have the ability to overcome. 120 over 80 may not be sufficient to go around an actual buildup of plaque. Therefore, in order for your body to continue to perfuse the 37 trillion cells that you have, it needs to have the ability to actually overcome and increase the blood pressure so it can continue to do its job. Now, here's the kicker. That adaptation, because that's what it is, it's an adaptation. That adaptation is not something that's meant to remain at a heightened level. It is our job to now make sure we are doing the things to remove that plaque, decrease the inflammation, widen the actual blood vessels, and get things back to normal. So high blood pressure is just like the check engine light. And when we are taking medications just for the sake of lowering our blood pressure, just so it can look fine on the actual monitor, all we're doing is cutting the wires. All we're doing is placing the tape over it. But nobody ever answered the question of what is going wrong in your cardiovascular system that's making your blood pressure adapt to that level. So I always say that my goal is to move the community from asking the question of what do I need to take to get my blood pressure down to asking a higher quality question of what is my blood pressure adapting to? What's making my blood pressure increase? Because that denotes the fact that we understand that our bodies are intelligent, our bodies are self-regulating, our bodies are self-healing and self-caring. When we say, oh, my blood pressure is high, what do I need to take? What do I need to take? We ignore all of that. When we say, what do I need to take to get my blood pressure down? It's like we're saying we disagree with the blood pressure being high. I disagree with you, body. You don't know what you're talking about, body. Therefore, I'm going to take a pill to make you go down. But when we say, what is our body adapting to? That's saying that, okay, body, I understand. You're in a heightened state right now. You're in a stressed state right now. What did I do? What did I eat? What did I take in that's making you increase? And I won't do that anymore.
So we're not getting to the root of the issue. You're just covering up the symptom that's causing the blood pressure to go high.
We're not dealing with the actual root. And the actual root, we talk about the three types of stress being the actual, root cause. That's a very long conversation. But essentially, we just need to understand that the body is built to actually adapt to its environment. The body is built to actually make sure we survive. And once we have survival under wraps, we can now work on thriving. Therefore, anything that is causing is a threat or seen as a threat to the body, whether it be external or internal, our bodies are going to make certain steps to actually adapt and overcome. So your blood pressure increasing is an adaptation to something else in your circulatory system. It's an adaptation. It's not the actual disease. It's not the big bad wolf that they have taught us to be. The reason why it had to be taught that way is because that's how you create a market. I mean, let's be real. Because if we understand just how important it is for those 37 trillion cells to make sure they stay properly perfused, it only makes sense that the body is going to actually adapt to continue to perfuse that cell in the face of adversity and blockage. I hope I was clear.
You're very clear. It's a survival mechanism.
It's a survival mechanism. That's it. That's it. Survival
Absolutely. Mechanism. Wow. Okay.
So the question is, what is it surviving or what is it adapting to? Like, what's making your body adapt? Because if you just take the blood pressure medications, and the blood pressure medications, all they do is they work based on gimmicks and tricks. They go in and they block receptors. They go in and they inhibit certain hormones, but they're not, once again, they're not dealing with the actual issue. So this is like walking into a room, the lights are off, and somebody grabs you from behind your back with your arms, and then you start getting punched in the face. Your defenses are, you don't have any defense to it. And so when your blood pressure increases, that's your body saying, hey, we have an issue perfusing the cells over here, increase. And when we take that medication, we're saying, forget all that. Right. We got to make sure it looks pretty on this little machine that they have. We have to abide by these guidelines. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually block your receptors. Even though I know you want to activate the receptors, we're going to block it. We're going to say that that's not needed. And then we're going to make sure your blood pressure stays nice and perfect in this little range. That's not reality. And that's not
that nature. Is just crazy. Oh, that's criminal. So, okay, everyone who's watching me on Facebook Live, go to Instagram. We're live right now. Go to @HealthBAMN. Okay? HealthBAMN. Okay, we're on live right now. But brother, that is so criminal. And if you have so many people who have this, whose bodies are substituting high blood pressure for something else going on, and then you're giving them all these medications that are actually inhibiting other things, like you said, receptors, inhibiting other things and hormones, changing those. That is like, it's a total chain reaction of destruction. It is. Right. And it's like, it keeps that person coming back for more medication. Okay, so that's what happens when they're like, okay, I had somebody tell me at my job, I'm just on one high blood pressure medication. But then there are the ones that they're on, like, now they're on a water retention pill now, and now they're on this pill. And now they're on that pill. That's how that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, so, like I said, this is a grown folk talk, right? So everybody understand that my job is to bring the truth to you, so that you can educate and empower yourself. When we're talking about these medications, so you just mentioned the diuretic, the water pill, hydrochlorothiazide. That's the #1 prescribed medication to African Americans. What we need to understand is that medication, the way it works is that it acts on the actual, the nephrons in the kidneys to make sure that your body excretes more water. With that water, you're going to lose sodium. Okay, cool, right? But with that water and sodium, you're going to lose magnesium, you're going to lose potassium. That's why many times your doctor may also tell you should probably looking at taking potassium. But what does potassium do? What does magnesium do? Magnesium and potassium is the very reason why so many people are actually hypertensive. Magnesium and potassium are actually, they work more so like relaxants. They actually help relax the body. But also when we're talking about potassium, potassium is extremely important in insulin resistance. If you have low potassium, you're going to become insulin resistant. Now, let's rewind this all back. I just told you, hydrochlorothiazide is a water pill. It's a diuretic. You're going to excrete water. And so your blood pressure is going to look fine. High five, good job for that. Your blood pressure looks good due to this medication that we're giving you. But you're also losing magnesium and you're also losing potassium, 2 minerals that are going to help keep your blood pressure balanced. Well, when you start losing more and more and more, the medication has to increase because you now have less magnesium and potassium than you had when you first started. In addition to that, we looked at your blood work and your A1C is starting to creep up. You're now what we call pre-diabetic. Why did I become pre-diabetic so fast? Well, what they won't tell you is that hydrochlorothiazide actually increases your insulin resistance, meaning that it makes you pre-diabetic. So that is the actual. And so once again, there's receipts for all of this. And anybody who has questions about it, you can definitely go ahead and just simple Google search, hydrochlorothiazide, insulin resistance. You'll find the answers. But yeah, and so it's not just with that medication. Tell me a medication that won't have side effects. That's how medications work. Medications, they chemically alter the physiology of the body. Medications chemically alter the physiology of the body. So when you're altering the physiology of the body and the body has not agreed on this altercation, you're going to have what the medical community calls side effects. So it's going to happen whether you know about it or you don't know about it. It's happening on a level. So the side effects that people don't know about will be the actual nutrient deficiencies. So you don't feel potassium leaving your body until it's too late. You actually start having cramps, or you don't feel metformin doing anything to your body until you find out that you're low in B12 or folic acid. So there's no medication that you can consider to be mutually beneficial. Like, it's not going to happen.
Absolutely, and that's what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches in How to Eat to Live. He says there's no cure in medicine. If medicine was the cure, then why do you have to keep getting refills? It's not curing anything. Right. It's covering up. So there is no cure in the pharmaceutical companies and these, professional drug dealers. That's not the way. It's really not.
One of the things I like people to think about also, I don't know if you saw this post that I made recently, but when you're on medications such as high blood pressure or diabetes medications, those medications are prescribed to you based on your current diet that actually led you to the diagnosis. The medications are being prescribed to you with the assumption that you will continue down the same path that led you to that diagnosis. Therefore, if you start to improve or change that diet, if you start to move more, they always tell you, hey, make sure you let your healthcare provider know that you are improving your health. Why? Well, because something starts to happen. Maybe your blood sugar starts going down too low, or your blood pressure starts going down too low. Why is that? That's because the combination of the actual healthy foods plus the medications that are chemically altering your physiology are too much at one time. Because you have the medications, they're just performing gimmicks, they're just performing little tricks, they're blocking receptors. Whereas the actual healthy food is providing nourishment to help you repair and heal itself. Therefore, the medications become too much. So, foods,
yes,
heal.
Sir.
Fasting,
yes.
heal. Medications, they're temporary band-aids that don't do anything. They're temporary band-aids to make us feel comfortable because, our numbers look better. And that's fine if you're going to do that for a little bit, but I need for you to understand that the literature does not show nor support the high blood pressure medications or the diabetic medications. They don't show that they actually decrease mortality or morbidity. They don't show that at all. Therefore, this means that if you are on medications and you're eating the same diet versus somebody who is not on medications but eating the same diet, you both are on the same path. But only on this side, they actually know that they're doing bad. They actually can see it when they measure their blood sugar. They see the numbers being 300. They see their blood pressure being, 180 over 90. They're aware of it, so they're making a very conscious decision to continue down that path. However, for the individual who's taking medications and you're going to your doctor and just having it increase every 6 months and you're looking at your numbers and they look fine, but you're eating the same way, you're going down the same path, except you're just not really aware of it. And so this is what we call symbolic victories. So it's symbolism. It looks good, but it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. So
that's crazy. That is so crazy. So it seems to me like the person who's taking the medication and still on the same diet is the one kind of in a worse situation versus the one who's eating the same diet and not on medication.
Yeah. So, like I said, the person who's not on the medication, they at least know. They're aware. Like, they don't have any fantasy that what they're doing is causing this to happen. However, this one, taking the medications and eating the same way, they really believe that the medications are improving your health. Let me tell you something. There's no medication that can improve your health. It doesn't work like that. Specifically when we're talking about these lifestyle conditions, they don't improve your health. And if they did improve your health, what happens when you come off of the medications?
Right. That's a good question.
The blood pressure goes right back. The blood sugar goes right back. Well, what happens when you improve your diet? Right. What happens? When you actually stop? Well, when you stop, you'll see the actual results from that healthy diet. So if you decided to stop eating, you started eating healthy for a whole 30 days, and you started getting actual results, your blood pressure starts going down, blood sugar starts going down, you actually lost a couple weight. Let's say you wanted to do 2 days of just binging out for whatever reason. Well, guess what? You're still going to keep those results. It may increase a little bit, but you're still going to keep those results due to the fact that you have provided 30 days of actual therapy to your arteries. However, you come off those medications and you will see the effects in several hours. Blood pressure right back up. blood sugar right back up. It never went anywhere. It never
Right.
went anywhere. You just didn't know.
Right. That makes sense. So it seems like so let's talk about the proper way that one would be able to come off of their high blood pressure medication, because it seems like when one is deciding, like, you know what, look, I don't want to take these pills anymore. I do not want to. I'm going to start doing what I need to do to get off of this medication. I'm going to start eating right. I'm going to start, working my body. I'm going to start working out. It seems like there would come a point where the medication that they're taking on a regular basis would start to affect them in a negative way, versus when they were taking it and eating the same way, they weren't feeling the effects. Is that true?
Say that last part one more time.
So someone who decides to change their way of eating, right, so they can get off the pills, but they're still taking them, it seems like once they're correcting their lifestyle habits, that the medication they're taking would start to affect them in a negative way, versus when they were not changing their lifestyle and taking the medication and it wasn't affecting them. They were thinking that it was helping them. Does that make sense? That it will start to ill affect them on the proper path to health.
Right. So what happens if I give you high blood pressure and diabetes medication right now?
Me, I probably would get really sick.
Really? If I gave you medications, you would actually get sick. You're right. You're right. You would get sick. You
Yeah.
get very sick. What happens if I give you healthy foods?
I would be feeling good. Energy, let's go run, go to the gym, something, do a push-up or two.
Right. So once again, that's just another verification that, medications don't actually make you healthy, because if I give you medications, I should be able to give medications to anybody, and it should actually be able to make them healthy. It doesn't work like that. So when we're talking about people who are making lifestyle changes but still taking medications, everybody needs to understand that, I'm not able to actually give medical advice online or to anybody that's not my patient. So none of this is medical advice. This is all education and empowerment. I highly recommend that you, do your best to work with your healthcare provider. If you have a healthcare provider that's not stuck in their ways, that's not completely lost in the system, then I highly recommend that you do your best to work with this healthcare provider to actually have them monitor you as you are improving your health and you're needing to have those medications tapered off and dosed off. So what I do with my patients, I'll have patients that come in, they may be on blood pressure medications or diabetes medication. I don't make them just stop cold turkey. What they're going to do is, let's start the improvement right now today. They may start fasting, which is one of the things that I always pull up my bag right off the bat. They may start just moving. They may start, eating more of a plant-based diet, whatever it is. But I'm going to have them. This is where the self-care comes into play, because you need to understand what's going on with your body. You need to be tracking your blood sugar. You need to be tracking your blood pressure. You need to be tracking all these things, because you're going to start to notice, it's going to happen with the food, but you're going to start to notice that these levels are actually coming down. Therefore, if the levels are coming down, then the medications for my patients, I will now taper them down, because I'm not going to give them the same dosage of medication and their blood pressure is no longer that higher and their blood sugar is no longer higher. We're now tapering it down. And so all my patients understand that if you come into me, we're working on getting your medications down and being done with it. We're not going to just do the whole fill and refill. We're not going to be doing that. And so we have to now make sure that you are working with your healthcare provider if you have one. And if not, this is, once again, understand that this is your body. This is your body. You stopping medications and not improving your health, it's not the best idea. But at the same time, what if you're taking medications? What was the reason you were taking medications for? You were taking it because you weren't that crazy. You actually wanted to live. You actually wanted to survive. You actually wanted to do something that will allow you to stay there, right? So you're not just going. So I don't recommend just stopping the medications. I never make that recommendation to anybody. But what I do say is that, you should work with your healthcare provider, because they actually have the information, the knowledge to help you taper off, these medications. What you need to know is that, yes, it is possible to reverse type 2 diabetes and high blood pressure. You need to know that, because if you don't know that, then you're not even going to go into the conversation as it being a possibility. So like you just said in the beginning, ask the doctor questions of, how do I get off of these medications? Now, they can do the whole, the best we can do is decrease it. You may not actually be able to come off it. You may not be able to actually reverse it. That's what a lot of them may tell you. But let them know straight up, while I'm making changes, my numbers are coming down. I need your assistance in decreasing it. Should I break it in half? Should I break it in a quarter? What should I be doing? By law, they have to assist you in that. And if they're not, then you need to find a new healthcare provider, because that's not a healthcare provider you have. That's it's not
absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, Brother Edward, this is great. Oh, this is the bomb. Okay, so, and we have like a time limit on Instagram, right? It's like an hour.
Yeah, and I actually have to. I know we had a rough start. It took
I know.
To get started. But I do have to step out a little bit. But I'm more than willing to do this again and again and again, because like you said, there's so many conversations to talk about.
It is, and thank you everyone for joining. Real quick, can you help us understand when someone has high blood pressure, hypertension, what actually is happening? It's the pressure is too high, the blood flow that's getting pumped. The heart has to work too hard to pump the blood. The pressure is too much, so is it causing abrasion to the arteries? It's causing abrasion to the vessels. Can you help us to understand what's going on with high blood pressure?
Yeah, so when you have high blood pressure, we need to make sure we remember that high blood pressure was actually called for. It was actually activated. It was actually asked for. It's not something that just randomly started happening. So there's two different ways that the blood pressure is going to increase. It's going to increase via the increase in the contractility of the heart, meaning that the heart's actually going to pump harder, and it's going to actually pump faster, and that can increase your blood pressure. And then you have the actual increase in systemic vascular resistance. We have, once again, 60,000 miles of blood vessels. If you think about the blood vessel like a hose, where you have a hose like this, increase in systemic vascular resistance, meaning that the actual space for the blood to flow is now restricted. Now, that is something in both cases, whether we're talking about an increase in cardiac output or an increase in systemic vascular resistance, these are something that were activated. Like your body told it to do that for a reason. Now, 95% of people, when they have high blood pressure, it's not because of the increase in cardiac output. It is because the actual increase in systemic vascular resistance. What causes the activation of that? We know about the fight or flight, right? Everybody, we have two different systems in our body. Well, we have multiple, but you have the autonomic, and the autonomic breaks down into two different systems. You have parasympathetic, which is rest, digest, feed and breathe, and then you have the sympathetic, which is fight, flight. The sympathetic is more for survival. The parasympathetic is more for thriving. Because when we look at the parasympathetic, you're actually able to break down foods. You're able to calm down. Your body's going to focus on things that are more of a luxury versus actual need. Whereas in the sympathetically activated person, everything is about surviving right now and now. Right now and the now. Therefore, anytime the body perceives a threat, anytime the body feels like it is being threatened, whether it's external or internal, the body responds very much similar to the way it would respond to somebody cutting you off in traffic and you having a stress response versus an actual lion chasing you and you having a stress response. Now, when we walk through what happens during the stress response, our body's going to automatically get us prepared to either fight or run off. So when we think about the things that are required for us to be able to run off, we need to understand that your body's all of the attention is going to things that are necessary, such as an increase in blood flow to your legs. Your legs are your biggest muscles. Therefore, when you start getting up and you start moving and running, your legs need more blood flow. So there's going to be a vasodilation, meaning an increase in actual arteries to your legs. So there's going to be an increase in blood to your actual arms. Now, what is not needed? Well, breaking down food is not needed because you're trying to make sure that you don't become food. Therefore, we're not going to focus blood flow to the actual GI tract. We're actually going to constrict that blood flow to the GI tract and reroute it to places that are actually needed. And so this is why people who have heightened stress and anxiety, they also have GI issues as well too. Also, things that are not important at that time is actual reproduction. So your body's not going to be focused on getting blood flow to that area. The things that are very important are going to be your ability to clot, your ability to actually clot blood. Because if you're running from this lion and you actually fall, you don't want to bleed and just be bleeding all over the place. Therefore, people who get stressed, you have an increase in platelet, you have an increase in viscosity, meaning that your blood is going to be thicker. If you have thicker blood, that means that your heart will now have to actually pump harder as well too. Something else that we're going to have, you're going to have an increase in a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone, but when we're under stress, cortisol's purpose is to release glycogen from our stores to provide energy to our actual muscles that we're using to actually run or fight or flight. And so also something else we're going to have is when we're under stress is we're going to have an increase in cholesterol. Why? Because cholesterol is the precursor to hormones. High cholesterol is the precursor to actually tissue repair, and cholesterol is actually anti-inflammatory. So this is all from stress. This is all from stress. And what else? You have you're going to have an actual your thoughts. When you are stressed and you are sympathetically activated, your thoughts will be predominantly in the realm of right now. What do I need to do right now to focus? It's very hard for you to have foresight. It's very hard for you to project because everything in your body is telling you to focus on right now. How do we get out of the situation? Whereas when you're in the parasympathetically activated, your thoughts are more so about the future. You know, what's coming. That's what your thoughts are. And so you're more logical, whereas when you're stressed and you're sympathetically activated, you're more emotional. You're more irrational because you're just trying to make sure you survive. So once again, stress is stress. Whether you get cut off in the car while you're driving, whether you're upset with your boss, whether you're having an issue with your partner, whether you're being chased by a lion, stress is stress. Your body's going to try to make sure you survive. There's 3 types of categories of stress. You have physical stress. This could be, you dropping something on your toe and that being painful. Physical stress could be us sitting all day. That's actual stress. That's stressful for the body. You cutting yourself or injuring yourself, lack of sleep. These are all physical stressors that will activate the sympathetic nervous system. And then we have emotional stress. We're talking about anxiety, depression, guilt, relationship problems. Like these are all psychological stressors, emotional stressors, and those will make you feel like you need to actually respond and survive. And then we have the actual chemical stressors. Chemical stresses can be anything from environmental toxins, pollutants, chemicals, artificial sweeteners, the colors in the food, but also stress comes from the actual depletion, insufficiency of nutrients. So you have several types of stress, but they're all stress. And your body sees stress, no matter what kind of category it's in, it's going to respond in a way to actually make sure you are able to survive. Our job is to make sure that we don't make this this adaptation prolonged. We're not supposed to be walking around day after day feeling so stressed out. And when you look at the Black community, you see why we feel so stressed out. When you look at our foods, when you're eating foods, whether we're talking about Twinkies or a 50-cent can
Cheetos and Doritos, Popeyes,
you name it. That's a bottle of stress. That's a bottle of stress you're taking in because the ingredients in that food is going to activate your sympathetic nervous system. It's going to cause vasoconstriction. It's going to cause the thickening of the blood. It's going to cause you to have receptors activated. It's going to cause all these things. And so we now understand that your body isn't crazy. It didn't just increase your blood pressure just because. It increased because, really, at the end of the day, it increased because we told it to. We told it to based on the actual foods we're taking in. So I said it once. I said it multiple times, and I'll continue to say it. The standard American diet is the nutritional version of colonization. That food
Woo!
has no intentions on actually improving your health whatsoever.
Right.
Therefore, we need to understand that when we are taking in the processed foods, the actual standard American diet, we are consistently colonizing our bodies. And when we are consistently colonizing our bodies, we are denigrating or wagging our fingers at our troops, which is the increase in blood pressure, the increase in blood sugar, the increase in cholesterol. We are saying, hey, don't fight back. Y'all sit down. Y'all sit down. I know we got inflammation. I know we have a decrease in blood flow to the actual kidneys, but don't you dare increase in blood pressure. And don't you dare decrease your insulin sensitivity. But the body's like under attack every single day.
Wow.
And so many of this can be, you see a parallel with that colonization, and you can now look at society and see the same thing. But that's a whole other conversation. So that's how.
God, this is such a big topic. Oh my God, it can go into so many different directions. Stress kills. This is why they say stress kills. Not the stress from medications, the stress from the foods we eat, the stress from our relationships with each other, the stress from the enemy attacking us all the time, the stress from each other attacking each other all the time, which is another subject that was caused. But it could just go into so many different directions. And I know you got to go. I did, if you can, answer 2 questions at least from the family joining us. One of the questions is, what if you've had high blood pressure ever since you were a child? Sister Lady Williams, is that correct? Question, it says, even if you had it since a child, were you talking about high blood pressure?
Yes, I would ask if to he or she to clarify that question. Also, I would also make sure we understand that there's 2 types of high blood pressure. There's what one they call essential hypertension, and then you have secondary hypertension. Essential hypertension is what 95% of people who have high blood pressure have. But when we're talking about secondary hypertension, this is because they know for a fact that it's being caused by this adrenal tumor you have on your kidney that's secreting epinephrine at a nonstop. They know that you have high blood pressure due to the fact that you have aortic stenosis or renal stenosis, where you have a decrease in blood flow to your actual kidneys, and therefore the kidneys have to be properly perfused, and so it's going to increase the blood pressure. So someone who's an outlier as far as the blood pressure, they may have what they call secondary hypertension, and there's going to be several possibilities for why they have that high blood pressure. But once again, the goal shouldn't be to specifically focus on decreasing the blood pressure. The goal should be to focus on what the blood pressure is adapting to.
Absolutely. And so no matter which blood pressure you have or how long you've had it, it is reversible.
Yes, and you know, unless you're in a situation where you've had permanent things done to you, such as kidney kidney dialysis, you know, when you have things that are permanently done to you, you know, it's hard when you have permanent damage. It's hard to reverse that. So I am not clear as of right now, as we're speaking. You know, the information that I'm going to be presenting to people who are on dialysis. Because I want to be very careful with that one, because when I do pop off, I'm going to pop off because there's a rampant increase of dialysis clinics specifically in our community. And we need to understand that dialysis clinics, they are a lifetime commitment. You know, what we're told once you get started on. We're talking about dedicating 3 to 4 days of your life to it for 3 to 4 hours. And the overhead and the actual cost for a dialysis clinic is extremely cheap, but each patient is worth $90,000+ per year. So that's a whole different conversation. Believe that I will be back talking and going off about that. But I want to make sure that I dot my I's and cross my T's when I'm speaking on that one.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. And thank you for your question, Lady Williams. And what foods are good to eat? That's another question. If someone's listening right now and they're like, you know what, I'm going to get rid of this. And as you said before, you don't recommend just stopping cold turkey. Talk to your healthcare provider. Let them know that you want to get off your meds. But what would you say is stuff that they could do? What foods are good that they can eat, and what can they do right now when we get off of this live?
Right. So one of the things that we're doing every single month in the community is a 24-hour fast. So many times my primary recommendation is to reestablish fasting back into your lifestyle, because fasting was always a natural principle in our traditions. So many people have high blood pressure due to the fact that it has some level of insulin resistance. And the reason why I always start the conversation off with fasting is because through my experience, I found that many people want more tricks and more gimmicks, and I don't want to continue to mold and shape you in a way that you can be hustled. I want to make sure I give you the truth as it is, because believe me, people are watching us. People are watching the people who are influential to the actual different communities, and they are watching to see the things that you are recommending. The moment you continue to recommend something like CMOS, what they will do is they will take all the money they have, because they have way more money than you, and they will figure out who your audience is, and they will advertise to your audience. And then they'll be back on your live to actually listen to the game that you're dropping, and then they will come back out with another advertisement, and they have way more money than you. So one thing that you don't have to spend money on.
That's right. That's right.
You don't have to spend any money on it. It's going to actually save you money. It's one of the very few things that you can actually do that's actually going to put money.
It's real, brother. It's so real.
And so, fasting in a healthy way, I recommend water fasting in a healthy way is going to help you decrease your blood pressure. I recommend, starting where you're at. Predominantly start with the 16-hour fast, but if you can work your way up to 18, 20, 24-hour fast, you want to do that. You're not doing it just to, aesthetically. I don't recommend doing it just for aesthetics, weight loss or anything like that. You are going to lose weight, but at the same time, understand what's going on in your body. And that's a whole nother conversation. But when you're fasting, you're able to really tap into your true infinite power, because there's certain things that can't take place in the body as long as you're in a fed state. But when you start going past 16 and 24 hours, you truly see the helping hands of gods of your body actually work in play, because we have things called autophagy or autophagy. We have things such as hormesis, apoptosis. These are, if you want to talk about magic, this is about as magical as it's going to get when your body is in a fasting state. People will think clearly. People are, they are able to read and retain it. I'm on a fast right now, and that's why this is when I get
the whole Nation of Islam is on well, it should be ending right now, but every first Sunday of every month, we are on a 3-day fast. So the last meal we eat our last meal on Thursday night, and then we break it Sunday night. So, I'll be putting out your community fast. It's when is it?
So we do it every month. It's going to be, we don't have the date set for next month, but we started at 6 p.m. and we ended the next 6 p.m. the following day. So we're probably going to be doing it on Saturdays and Sundays. Like right now, we just ended the 6 p.m. And, with that, we make sure we educate and empower, what fasting is, how it works, and all the other things that go on with it.
I love that. It's so beautiful. And I'm going to let you go after this question. There's another question a brother is asking. What if someone says they're too old to fast? I've been fasting since I was a teenager. And I never look my age. Like, I never, ever look my age. And I believe that. I know that the true fountain of youth is fasting. Because when you fast, your body is able to heal, repair itself. All the cells in your body are able to breathe, to restore themselves, to regenerate, rejuvenate. Like your whole body is just in a state of like, I don't gotta process this stuff that we just stuff in our bodies, including alcohol, including drugs. And fasting is definitely the way to go. It's the eternal fountain of youth. It's not retinol A. It's not anything like that. It's fasting. So when one says, am I too old? Or somebody says they're too old to fast, what are your thoughts on that?
So what we need to understand is that fasting is the only thing that has been proven without a shadow of doubt to actually increase longevity. It's the only thing. Matter of fact, if you took all of the medications in the world, and you took all of their objectives and you put them into one pill, it couldn't even come close to achieving what fasting can do. And the reason why fasting is so powerful is not so much fasting itself, it's due to the actual silence of the body and what the body already has the ability to do. Fasting forces you to keep out the colonizers, the nutritional colonizers, and focus on self. We are all better when we start focusing on self. When you're always distracted and you're focused on this and you're focused on that and you're doing the timeline thing, your energy is being dispersed in so many directions. That's what eating 6 small meals is. That's what the frequent eating every 2 to 3 hours. That's just dispersed energy. However, when you come within and you fast for a 16, 24-hour period and more, 36 hours, your body is only focusing on itself. Your body is only focusing on how can we repair, heal, how can we destroy cells, now create new cells, how can we improve this aspect of the body. That's all it's doing. That's all it has to do during those times.
Yeah, absolutely. And because we do have that survival mechanism already built in us, Allah put that in us to already self-heal, already, when you are on a fast, if there is something going on, then when you are fasting, then that's where the body knows where to go. We need to go here and heal this liver. We need to go here. We need to go there. And that absolutely does happen when you are fasting. And I like how you said when you fast, you silence the body. That's beautiful.
Yeah. You silence the body and you deal with yourself.
Amazing. Sorry, I love this conversation.
I really had fun. I enjoyed this. We definitely have to make sure we set up another one and keep the conversation
going. For sure.
Going.
Okay, brothers and sisters, Brother Edward Williams, again, he is a physician's assistant, certified. He is a fitness trainer, fitness coach, health trainer. He is an expert on decreasing your high blood pressure and then some. So if you are serious in getting healthier and getting stronger, contact him. Check out his website. He has, what do you have on your website? I know you have a glass bottle that I want to get, and I want to get a t-shirt, but you have other things. You have a high blood pressure booklet. Can you talk about everything that you have and that you offer?
Yeah, so we have multiple free resources. So if you really want to get an idea or understanding of what high blood pressure is, high blood pressure is the tip of the iceberg, but if you understand that tip, then you will understand everything else. So I have a book that's free. It's called The Blood Pressure Manifesto. I have a course that's free. It's called The Truth About High Blood Pressure, and that's going to walk you through what blood pressure is. I'm going to give you my recommendations in both the actual course and the actual book itself. We also have a free course called The Truth About Type 2 Diabetes, where I go through and I break down what type 2 diabetes is and what to do about it. We also have natural herbs. We have tea as well, too. So we have natural herbs for high blood pressure, for type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance. We have actual tea. I can show you a couple of them. They're over there.
Now, tell us about this tea.
So this is fast tea. This is the tea that you can take if you're starting fasting. You're trying to get into fasting. It's green tea mixed with several other type of actual herbs to help out with cinnamon bark. We have pressure tea. This is the tea for blood pressure. These are all natural herbal teas. And then we have our actual blood sugar support, and then we have one for blood pressure as well too. The thing that we're currently promoting and working on right now is our 28-day challenge called the Fast Life 28-Day Challenge. This is a 28-day challenge where myself and 2 other coaches, Kathleen Richardson and Tiffany Davis, will all come in together, and we are starting a challenge where we're going to put you in a protocol for fasting, and we're going to have you abide by the rules of that fasting based on your reality, based on your situation, and we're also going to have you practice 4 additional habits on a daily basis. And so these habits are not anything that's crazy. It's not unsustainable. You won't be counting calories. You won't be weighing your food. You won't become oppressed by your food, because that's not living. The idea that they make us think that we need to actually count our calories is crazy. But we're not going to be doing any of those things. And we'll be actually in a Facebook group. We will have daily accountability check-ins. We will have Sunday family meetings. And so this is a 28-day challenge, 3 coaches. You get workout programs, you get meal plans, you get the whole entire thing. The description is in my link on Instagram and Facebook. They know where it's at as well too. So that's what we have on the website. We have a lot of free content. And the blogs. Definitely read the blogs. So read my blogs. If you're diabetic, I recommend you read a blog called I have called 5 Simple Strategies to Prevent and Reverse Type 2 Diabetes. I have plenty of blogs on there about blood pressure. I have an insulin resistance quiz as well too. So, you know, just get to hbam.com and just start going through it and looking through it. Anything you have questions with, send me an email, send me a DM, send me something. I'm not hard to get in contact.
Praises due to Allah. Oh my God, thank you so much. And one last question. What does BAM mean? BAM, what does it mean?
Oh!
Yeah, I
know. So BAM, so HBAM, HBAMN, stands for Health by Any Means Necessary. My business and my philosophy and everything I do was inspired by the great brother Malcolm X. Malcolm X actually brought me into awareness of myself and so many other things. And he's also my first medical teacher because he taught me to deal with the actual root cause. He told me that this country only deals with the superficial issues because it's lucrative. It's how you create a market. It's how you continue to make this whole thing run. The worst thing that people can do is actually understand the true cause because you're now going to destroy your industry. So, health by any means necessary, HBAM.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. Health by any means necessary. Y'all, do you hear me? Do you hear us? Health by any means necessary. So thank you all so much, Brother Edward Williams. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us and helping to educate us. And I definitely want to do this again. So I really appreciate your time. Thank you so, so much. And everyone who's watching, if you have any concerns or questions, please contact our brother. This is his mission. Okay. And I appreciate that. Yeah. So thank you, brother. And I really hope that you have an amazing evening.
You too. I hope you have a great evening as well too. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the invite. And like I said, thank you for the work that you're doing on a very consistent basis. We truly appreciate you. And this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
We have to link up.
That's
we
right.
have to link up. The whole idea of tribalism and fighting amongst tribes when you are being attacked as a whole is ridiculous. We need to link up because this is where we're truly going to make progress. All right. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. Y'all make sure y'all go follow my sister, check her out. She puts out good content every single day. She's very consistent with it. And I appreciate you once again.
Thank you so much. And yeah, take care. We got to do this again. And I already know what I want to talk about.
Definitely.
But this won't be the last time. This won't be the last time, everybody. And we'll let you know. All right.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I appreciate you, sis.
Health by any means necessary. Peace, y'all. Peace.
Peace. Take it easy.